Alright, so let's solve another popular LeetCode problem today, which is container with most water. It says you are given an integer array height of length n. There are n vertical lines drawn such that the two endpoints of the height line are this and this. Now, we are to find two lines that together with the x-axis form a container such that the container contains the most water, and then we return the maximum amount of water a container can store, and we may not slant the container. So let's take a look at this example 1. You can see that the maximum amount of water a container can store is when we try to create the container from this height 8 and the last height, which is height 7. More like we are trying to find the largest rectangle we can form from this. So let's try to visualize the whole thing and understand better. Okay, so I have our example 1 here. And to solve this problem, we need to use more like a two-pointer approach, whereby we initialize two variables. We can call it left and right. And then left will initially point to our first item in the list, and right will point to the last in the list. And then we keep on incrementing left and decrementing right based on some certain condition till they meet each other. So for this now, our left will be 0 and our right will be the last element index, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is 8 because it's a 0 index array. Now, we also need our initial width now, which is the same thing as our right. We will understand as we move further. Now, for the first iteration, our left is 0 and our right is 8. To get the rectangle from here and the amount of water it can store, we have to take the minimum from both of them. In this case, which is the one at 0, because if we take the last one and add water to it, this first one is less than it, making the water to overflow. But when we take from here, the water will always be contained in the rectangle. So based on that now, our minimum here now is 1 and our length is simply 1. And the formula for calculating the length of and the area of a rectangle is the length times the width. So now our width is 8 and our length is 1. Our area now is simply 8. Now, we have to either decrement our right pointer or increment our right pointer. But which one do we do now? Since we are trying to maximize the amount of water we can store or get a bigger container, since we know this one is less and this one is greater than it, we already know that this first one may not be able to fetch us a good container. So since it's less, we can simply increment our left pointer to this one. Now, our width, we also decrement it because this is our new width now. Our width now is 7. And our left pointer points to index 1. Now we check again. The minimum between these two is our height. In this case, is 7. Now our height is 7 and our width is 7. The area formula, the same thing, length times width is equal to 49. And 49 is greater than our last area, which is 8. We now update our last area to, we now update our area to 49, and then which one now is greater than the other. We know that 8 is greater than 7, so we decrement our right pointer to this one. So this is how we'll keep on doing it till left and right meet each other, and then our area variable will have the maximum height, maximum container we can get. So now that we understand the whole thing, let's now proceed to writing the code. Okay, so the first thing we want to do now is to create two variables. We'll call it our left and our right, which are our pointers. And we can, our left has to be 0 by default, and our right will be the length of our height minus 1, since it's a 0 index array, and also our width, which is our right by default. Now we create our max area and initialize it to the smallest possible number, so that any area we get will always be greater than it. So we can do that by just using floats negative infinity. Then we loop why our left is less than our right. We now check. First we get our length. Our length now will be the minimum between our height at left and height at right. Then our max area now will now be the maximum between the max area itself and our area, which is simply length times width. So we now need to increment or decrement our left and right pointers. We now check if the height as left is less than height at right. We know that the height at left will not lead us to the best container we want, so we can increment our left pointer. But aside that, we decrement our right pointer, and then at the end we just decrement our width too. And finally return our max area. So that's it for the solution. Let's now try to run the program and check if it works. Okay, so it works perfectly and is quite efficient. And the time complexity for this program is big O of n, which is linear time. And that's it for this video. See you guys on the next one.